Welcome to My Health, My Way, a podcast dedicated to empowering and supporting women living with endometriosis, adenomyosis, and infertility. We are your hosts. I'm Alana, Marketing Business Manager, and Sarah, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. We are here to bring you stories and insights from a holistic perspective. Our aim is to foster a sense of community to help you navigate the challenges and triumphs that come with these conditions. Get ready to embark on a holistic adventure with us. Welcome to My Health, My Way, where health meets functional wisdom.
Welcome to another episode of the My Health, My Way podcast. Today, I am joined by my colleague Monika Eva, who is a double board certified hormone nutritionist who has helped thousands of women release stubborn weight and regain the energy when nothing has worked. Welcome, Monica. I'm so excited to have you. I'd
Thanks so
love
much,
to
Sarah.
start by asking you about your own journey into functional health. What got you here?
Such a good question. It's actually a very long story, so I'm going to condense it because you guys don't need the full version. But basically, my entire life, I want to say like for over a good decade, from like teens and onwards, I struggled with losing weight, and it was just something that I just couldn't figure out no matter what I did. And I tried all the different diets, and so eventually, the measures that I took to lose weight really started impacting my hormones. And so this started happening like in my 20s. I mean, I didn't know that what I was doing wasn't good for me. You just get excited when, you finally see the scale drop and you're like, wow, okay, I finally figured it out. But I was really under eating, over exercising, under recovering, and I started to hit burnout.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, instead of keeping the weight off, the weight started piling back on. And I was like, this is not normal. Like, something is not right. Something that used to work for me was no longer working. And so, I hired all these different types of coaches to help. Like, I looked at macros, reverse dieting. I worked with a naturopath. I went to go see specialists and all these different types of doctors, and no one could really help. Everyone was just saying, like, the general advice that we get either eat less, move more. There's only so long that you can reverse diet. Now you gotta like start cutting back on food again. I had a specialist tell me that I was too young for any hormone imbalances. Refused to test my hormones, just said that there was no need to test my hormones because they had no impact on what I was going through. And it wasn't just weight struggles that I was experiencing. I mean, I was also experiencing migraines like every other day. I was extremely tired, and nobody really looked into stuff beyond, let's say, your iron and your vitamin D and your B12 levels. It
Mm.
was kind of like if that's all in check, then there's no reason for you to be tired because you're young and you should be healthy and there's nothing else that's showing up in your blood work. Anyways, long story short, I promise this wouldn't be a long story. I ended up working with a holistic nutritionist who literally changed my life, what felt like overnight. The migraines started disappearing. And then I just developed like this huge passion for holistic nutrition, and I enrolled in holistic nutrition school myself. And it was in one of those courses that I learned that, hey, I think I have what we were calling back then adrenal fatigue, which is now just HPA axis dysregulation.
Mm.
And that's what really started the whole journey. I was like, I definitely have something that's not right with my cortisol. No one's looking at this, but this is exactly what it is. And I had all the symptoms. Like I was feeling dizzy and lightheaded, going from like sitting to standing, walking up flights of stairs. Like I was out of breath. And it's not that I wasn't like conditioned because I was definitely working out a lot. It was just, I was so exhausted. I was like seeing stars sometimes, right?
Mm.
And so I ended up discovering um, just functional testing on my own. Like I kind of back then I was like, I'm gonna run this cortisol test on myself, and I did, and I was like, wow, like I finally figured it out. And it wasn't until like a little bit after that that I had this incredible transformation with my own health journey that just friends and family started asking me, like, hey, what did you do? Like, you look incredible, and it's not just the weight, it's also like a glow. You have so much energy. And I just knew then I found something that other women can definitely benefit from. And this is how it all started.
Awesome. Um, Now I know that you are very passionate, obviously, about, the weight loss and why these traditional weight loss approaches fail women, especially with hormonal imbalances, because you obviously went through that. Now, why is it too that in specifically, I guess during menopause or perimenopause, these things change? Why can't we just eat less and exercise more? Like what else? Obviously, you just discussed the whole, cortisol piece, and there's a more to it, and hormones definitely matter. So how do things change?
Yeah, so the way that I'd like to describe this is if we think about a woman in perimenopause, she's going to be in at least her third or fourth decade of life. And if we think about what's happened to you by the time you're in your 30s and 40s, you've gone through so much stress.
Mm.
If we think about things, like in your 20s, you probably stayed up way past your bedtime. Like you were up all night, not really getting much sleep because then you were back at work the next morning. Maybe there was more alcohol intake because we kind of all go through like these different phases. In your 20s you feel like you can get away with a lot more,
Yeah.
and then in your 30s, and I'm just kind of like generalizing here, but usually after that you end up going through pregnancy, postpartum. All of these things affect your hormones,
Mm.
but more importantly they affect cortisol. And so cortisol is your stress hormone. When your body goes through so much stress, your adrenals are affected. And when you throw in perimenopause, which is like another layer
Mm.
of basically like a hormonal roller coaster that your body's going through, you have this natural decline in progesterone and estrogen and other sex hormones. And then you have like blood sugar imbalances that start to happen because insulin isn't as sensitive as it once was. You layer that on to all this stress that you went through, and you haven't really been doing anything to support your adrenals and to support your body, you're really going to feel it. And sometimes what happens is women think, okay, maybe I gained a few pounds, like maybe there's 5, 10 extra pounds, or sometimes it's even 20, 30 extra pounds over the past 2, 3 years. I'm going to resort to things that I know that have worked before.
Mm.
We usually go back to things that we did in the past, like in our 20s, that worked, where maybe we took up jogging or we started riding our bike, like going to spin classes and doing all this cardio to burn more calories and maybe eat a little bit less without realizing that this is actually just another layer of stress on the body.
Mm.
And so we really need to approach weight loss from a completely different perspective. It's supposed to be us rebuilding our body and rebuilding our resiliency to stress
Mm.
in order for that weight to come off. Because
Mm.
something that I've noticed, and I've seen this in myself and in like the thousands of women that I've worked with, is that weight is there to protect you from something, and
Mm.
it's protecting you from that stress.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I see that a lot with women as well, where they have tried literally everything to, yeah, lose that weight. But yeah, when we start working together, we really realize the body is under so much stress. There is no way. It's in survival mode, and that weight is just going to stay because the body doesn't really feel safe to lose it.
Yeah, and if we think about like what weight really is, right? It's like it's that stored fat. Your body is thinking like, "Hey, we need this fat storage as an energy resource," because that's all that means to the body, right?
Mm.
It doesn't mean an extra jean size or an extra 10 pounds on the scale. The body's thinking, "I'm under so much stress. I know that I'm going to have to need this energy to either run away from something or have enough to survive. And so I'm going to hold on to this fat so we can burn through it later."
Mm. I mean, I have worked with women who literally don't eat, but they don't lose an ounce of fat. They don't eat. They just drink coffee and they wonder why am I not losing weight? Yeah, it's that
Yeah.
stress free. Yeah.
Well, the body just adapts, right? It adapts with what you give it. And so I feel like one of the biggest things that women are kind of shocked at is like, wow, I'm eating so much more and I'm actually exercising less and the weight is just melting off,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But it's really hard to kind of believe that and like trust that it'll happen because it goes against everything that weight loss and diet culture tells us.
Exactly right. Yeah. It's very well marketed, right? You just eat less and exercise more, and the fat will just melt off. Yes.
Right.
As easy. It was that easy for everyone, right? And I also find, like for me personally now, kind of coming closer to that stage of where hormones are dropping, I do feel like there is a little bit, or noticing a little bit of fear mongering around perimenopause. That women say, it only really just gets worse. They're having a terrible time, so we're expecting to have this terrible time. But I always find that obviously, if that's the first time we're truly questioning our health, and the last 20 years we've just done whatever, and we're really hitting that stage of our life really, really out of balance, yeah, we probably are going to experience more symptoms than a woman who's truly taken care of herself. Do you
For
find
sure.
that? Mm,
Yeah, 100%. So, first and foremost, every body is different, right? So, when we talk about like we're generally speaking, there's women that I know that have, whether they're like friends of friends or like their acquaintances, don't really look after themselves, but they're like, man, I haven't had a hot flash or anything like that. Like I'm still not gaining any weight. And so everyone's going to have a different experience with perimenopause. But generally speaking, if you are a woman who hasn't really done anything to support like what I consider the foundations, and I know you probably consider this as the foundations as well, like nourishing your body well, looking after your adrenals, making sure that you're not burning yourself out by taking on too many responsibilities or maybe like not giving yourself proper rest. Like these kinds of things are super important. When we don't provide ourselves or provide our body with this type of support, perimenopause is going to exacerbate all of the things that are kind of, like the weak links in your body, so to
yeah.
speak. So if you have issues with, you sometimes maybe get a migraine and you think it has something to do with the weather. With perimenopause, it can actually get so bad where you will experience it on like a weekly basis.
Mm,
If your menstrual cycles were always very, wacky for lack of a better term,
mm,
or they were kind of irregular, or they were very heavy and painful. Well, now when we throw in another layer of these hormonal fluctuations, there's like this decline in progesterone that's happening. You might actually experience even worse
mm,
periods as a result. So, really, perimenopause is just going to exacerbate what's already needing support in the body. So, the best way to overcome the mayhem of menopause, like making sure that you don't have to like ride that wave out like a roller coaster, is really to give your body the support now
mm.
so that when perimenopause or menopause do hit, you're not really going to feel it as much.
Yeah.
Before we jump back into the second half of our show, I would like to share how you can work with Sarah. As a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, Sarah takes a holistic root cause approach to your well-being. Say goodbye to merely treating symptoms and hello to uncovering the root causes of your health challenges. Sarah utilizes cutting-edge functional testing to get to the heart of the matter and design a personalized plan just for you. Just remember, she's only a click away. You can connect with her on Instagram under NutriRoot_health for valuable insights, health tips, and a peek into the world of functional diagnostic nutrition. If you're more of an email person, drop her a message directly at sarah@nutriRootHealth.com.au. That information will be in the show notes.
Don't miss out on this opportunity to work with me, your dedicated health detective.
Now let's dive back into the second half of our podcast. Stay tuned for more intriguing conversations.
I know you also work with women with endo and other hormonal conditions. What common patterns or insights have you observed with those women?
Yeah, so definitely. So, I mean, I run three different functional tests in my practice. We run the HTMA, which is the hair tissue mineral analysis. We run the GI map, and we also run the Dutch test.
Mm.
And so, something that I see that's very common amongst this specific group of women, sorry, is that their minerals are typically imbalanced. So, what I see a lot is actually like the four lows,
Yeah.
where the potassium, sodium, magnesium, and calcium is very low across the board because they're just burnt out, right? And it's gotten to a stage where they've been putting themselves on the back burner for too long that now they're just depleted of minerals. So I see that a lot.
Yeah.
Another thing I see is dysbiosis, which is where there is more of a bad bacteria imbalance. So there's more of the bad bacteria than good bacteria in the gut.
Yeah.
Your gut and hormones, they are so closely interrelated,
Mm.
right? Like I always say, you cannot have healthy hormones without a healthy gut, and you can't have a healthy gut without healthy hormones. The two cannot exist without each other. Like we need both to be healthy. And the gut really influences hormones a lot. And
Mm.
so I find that there's a lot of dysbiosis. I find that a lot of times also their immune system is in overdrive because it's working so hard to protect their body from whatever's going on in the gut. And then, of course, like on the Dutch test, what I tend to see is either like very poor detox pathways for the estrogen, so the estrogen's not being metabolized properly, or not properly, but it's not optimal.
Mm.
So I see a lot of that, like their liver needs a lot of support,
Yeah.
both phase one, phase two detoxification.
Mm.
But then I also see progesterone deficiency. So a
Mm.
lot of times women think like, oh, I have too much estrogen and I need to do something to lower estrogen, when really it's like your estrogen is actually perfect and we
Yeah.
want it to stay this way. We want it to stay this way as long as it possibly can. It's your progesterone is so deficient because of all the stress your body's under.
Yeah.
So we gotta like rebalance the minerals. We
Yeah.
gotta refeed the gut, make sure like fix that. And then usually progesterone will improve.
Yes. Yes. I couldn't agree more. Exactly. And I do see the same. I definitely see the same.
Yeah.
I love the HTMA and looking at minerals because I feel like it is often the missing piece. I have a lot of women that come to me that have already had a GI map done, or they may have already had a Dutch. Most of them have not had the minerals tested. They might have done the common 4-hour approach. They might have taken some antimicrobials. They might have felt better for a short period of time, and then symptoms have returned and they don't understand why. They feel
Yeah.
like they've done all the right things. They've followed all the recommendations from their naturopath and taking all these antimicrobials, and we're back to, where we were before. And I always like to explain how I guess minerals play a role in that, and why I guess the 4-hour approach is in that perhaps a little outdated, that we can't just go in and, perhaps kill bacteria and not actually address the environment. And especially with low sodium and potassium, I see that a lot. I see
Yeah.
it so much.
Well, if we think about like, going in, first of all, with antimicrobials, they don't just wipe out the bad, they also
Mhm.
wipe out the good. And
Mm.
if you're already in a depleted state, if we think about what those antimicrobials are doing, we're just depleting it even further. So it's kind of like you don't feel good it's kind of like you being sick with the cold and then going on like a detox thinking like, oh, it's going to help build up. Like we first need to build up your immune system.
Mm.
So it's kind of like where we need to build up those minerals, make you strong enough to deal with the antimicrobials and to,
Yeah.
get rid of whatever we need to, but then also bring back, like reseed the gut.
Mm.
And so, and it just it goes a lot deeper than going on antimicrobials, taking some glutamine and calling it a day. Like it really does take a little bit more than that.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I do agree. And I see that a lot. I feel like that's a huge missing piece. And, even with, the fatigue that women are dealing with, I'm like, if we're not looking at minerals, as a foundation, it's going to be really difficult to restore that long term. Short term, there's a lot of things we can do, right? There's a lot of quick fixes out there. But, if we actually want to restore function and, from the ground up, then minerals are, yeah, to me, non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Absolutely, are key.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even like, the symptoms that you experience along with the test results that you have, like this is all just feedback from your body. Your
Mm,
body is telling you like what is out of balance, what needs support, and it's more so like guiding you like, hey, like look at these areas. And so I'm never surprised when I see depleted minerals and then also hormones are, completely out of whack or they're also depleted. It makes sense. Those minerals are spark plugs to the hormones.
yeah, yeah.
Right? So if they're going to be depleted, how can you have very optimal levels of hormones? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think it's a connection most don't necessarily make or understand. I guess the whole mineral hormone connection. But yeah, I do talk a lot about that as well, just to kind of yeah, I guess educate women on that because it's not something that is talked a lot about, is how
Yeah.
minerals truly affect our hormones. Mm,
Yep.
yeah. And as so many women struggle with bloating, or women with endo struggle with bloating and weight that won't budge. What role does chronic inflammation play in that?
I mean, inflammation is huge because a lot of the times, like when someone experiences bloating, they very often think like, oh, it has something to do with the food I ate, right?
Mhm.
Like we're so quick to blame food
Yeah.
when really it's like the food's not the problem. The problem is the host. Like you're probably dealing with a leaky gut. And
Mm.
inflammation is the result
Yes.
of, like, it's a symptom, right,
Mm.
of a rooted issue, which is the leaky gut. But then, it doesn't just stop at the leaky gut. We got to ask ourselves, like, why do you have a leaky gut? Like,
Hmm.
what is their intestinal permeability? And so when I talk about leaky gut, like, literally, this means that your gut, like, if we were to put it underneath a microscope, we would see that, like, those epithelial cells, so like we have these tight junctions, they stay open when they're not supposed to. So they don't just allow nutrients to pass through the gut into the blood stream, but it's also whatever else wants to pass. And so this is where food sensitivities kind of come from,
Mm.
right? It's not really the food that's the problem,
Mhm.
it's the gut. And so where I was going with this was we got to ask ourselves, like, why is the leaky gut there in the first place?
Mm.
And there's so many different angles that we can approach this at because it's never just one thing that causes it, right? It's not just stress, it's not just medications, it's not just birth control, it's not
Yeah.
whatever else we're doing, the food that we're eating, the alcohol we're drinking. It's usually a combination of all this stuff. And this is why you really need like a comprehensive protocol to make sure that you target everything because I don't believe that there's a test to tell us like this is what caused your leaky gut. It's really hard to know.
Mm.
And so we want to make sure that we're always covering the bases. And same thing with, women who have endometriosis or adenomyosis.
Mm.
Same thing, like the bloating they're experiencing, very much it's related to inflammation. It's very much related to like hormonal shifts as well. And so it's really just a symptom of a deeper rooted issue. So
Mm.
going on an anti-inflammatory isn't necessarily going to help. Like it can definitely help relieve some of the symptoms like
Mm.
in the short term, but we really need to do like that deeper rooted work.
Yeah, exactly. I always make the point of anti-inflammatory diet is great, but then what's inflammatory to you might be different to what might be inflammatory to the next person, right?
A
When
thousand.
our immune system starts to kind of go a little bit erratic and kind of be like, today I'm going to just react to capsicums. So it's a
Yeah,
little bit,
for sure.
individual, I guess. We hear a lot about, I guess, balancing hormones. Why can't we just like, balance hormones? Why can't we just, suppress estrogen and be like, oh, we're gonna feel better now? I feel like there's this like we just balance hormones by addressing hormones because hormones are not really the root cause of the problem. They're more like that signal, that red
Yeah.
light. Yeah. Why can't we
Well,
just?
because everything is interconnected in the body, right? You
Mhm.
can't, it's like I said, you can't just isolate one thing and say, okay, we're just going to deal with this. You can't. There's multi layers to this.
Mm.
So hormones really like they're chemical messengers. So you can think about them as just being the messengers. They're not the guys that are deciding what signal gets sent. So
Mm.
this is why we need to do that deeper rooted work. Take a look at what's happening with your minerals? Like, are you depleted? Also, what's happening with your gut health, your digestion, your bowel movements? Like, these are all really good markers or kind of indicators to look at to tell us how well your body is working, how well, like, is it optimized?
Mm.
Um, like I'll tell you, like I've worked with women who are like, I don't know why, but I feel like something's off. And we do run a Dutch test, and I'm like, your hormones look fine on paper. Like, I don't actually know why you're feeling like this, but it's because that breakdown in the body is happening before hormones are ever affected.
Mm.
So there's things going on with their gut. They maybe have low stomach acid and they're not able to digest protein really well. That's going to affect their bowel movements. So that's going to make them feel sluggish, and maybe that's going to cause them some headaches. But it's kind of like this domino effect where you
Mhm.
have all these symptoms, but it hasn't caught up with the hormones just yet, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. Makes perfect.
Right? So we can't, this is why I'm also not a huge fan or proponent of like hormone balancing supplements, where it's like
Mhm.
you buy this one supplement and it's going to balance all your hormones in your body. Like, it's like the biggest marketing scam ever. It
It
doesn't
is.
exist. There is no product that exists like that.
That
It
is
isn't.
so true. I love that you brought that up because yeah, I do agree. That is definitely one of the biggest scams. It's like you just take these herbs and they're gonna balance all your hormones. I wish. I wish it was that simple, right? We actually have to do the work, real hard work
Yeah,
sometimes to get there to truly look at what you're doing, right? Lifestyle, how do we live our life? What do we do in the daily and change our habits? And these are the things that a lot of people don't want to do, right? Because
for
we
sure.
have to look
But
at what, yeah,
yeah,
that's
but
that
I can tell
responsibility
you.
piece.
I was just gonna say though, but once you do the work and you get the results, it's like you never want to go back to what you were doing before. It's so hard to be like, okay, now I'm gonna go back to doing the things that I was doing before that are gonna let me feel the way that I was feeling before. You're like, never again. Like it literally, if you allow it to, it will change your life for the
Yeah,
better.
agree. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, lastly, if women are wanting to, lose that stubborn weight and they're really struggling with their hormones, how can a women work with you? Where can they
Yeah. So
find you?
Yeah, so I have a few different ways of us working together. The best thing to do, or where to start off with, is really come find me on Instagram at Monika Eva, and I'm sure you'll drop that in the show notes for
I
everyone.
will.
Yeah, definitely send me a DM. I have a free weight loss and energy blocker assessment because I really love getting to the root cause of what's causing your weight and what's causing your energy. So, or energy issues, right? We really want to figure out what that is. And as long as we can kind of identify that area, then we can kind of target what kind of support you need. And that is the best place. Like I'm all about customizing things because, like I said, every single body is different. We're all biochemically unique. We all have different reasons. One woman might struggle with weight and another one might struggle with weight, but they'll have two different reasons why.
Mm.
And so we really like, I'm all about customizing things. So that's what I would recommend, or you can check out my website if you want to learn a little bit more at www.monikaeva.com.
Thank you so much, Monica, for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed the enlightening discussions and insights. If you're ready to take charge of your health journey and unravel the mysteries of endometriosis, adenomyosis, and infertility, don't forget to connect with Sarah on Instagram at nutriroot_health or shoot her an email at sarah@nutriroot.health.com.au. That will be in the show notes as well.
Remember, your health is an ongoing journey, and I'm your detective ready to help you crack the case. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes, and until the next time, take care of yourselves.